you have supported democracy vouchers, and I would love to hear you explain why you support that, and you've supported publicly financed elections with matching funds. So can you describe why you support those and what this alternative vision looks like?
So let's look at the current situation, then we'll look, as Zephyr suggests, at the alternative. Current situation. All of you who are billionaires, and I'm sure there are many of you in the room, but we have a case history right now in front of us. And I don't mean to beat up on Mr. Bloomberg in particular, but no, I don't. But it is the arrogance of somebody who say, you know, I'm worth $55 billion. And what does it matter to me? I'm going to spend $1 billion. That's nothing. It's nothing for me. I'll probably have more. I'll have made more than I spent at the end of the campaign. And I think it would be cool to run for president of the United States. And what is $1 billion? So right now, I think he's been in the race for 3 or 4 weeks. He's spent hundreds of millions of dollars already on campaign ads. In fact, the 2 billionaires in the race, I believe, have spent more than all of the other candidates combined. And we're spending money here in New Hampshire on TV, but ain't like what Mr. Bloomberg is doing, that's for sure. All right, so you got that issue right now that in America, some of you who have studied issues, who feel passionately about issues, who think that you would be a good elected official, it has never in a million years occurred to you that you could run for office because you know that to run for president of the United States or the governor or whatever it may be, it costs a lot of money, and you don't have a lot of money. So unlike Mr. Bloomberg or other billionaires, it never occurs to you that you should run for office despite the fact you might be an excellent candidate and an excellent elected official. But it's not only running for office. You got billionaires, Koch brothers were the best example of it, but not the only example, who would be spending as billionaires hundreds of millions of dollars. Imagine one family or a handful of people spending hundreds of millions of dollars. What these guys do is they sit in a room and say, okay, we're going to put money into this West Virginia race, we're going to put money into this Massachusetts race, put money into this district in California. They sit around the table. They don't know who the candidates are, but they are determined to represent candidates to elect candidates who will represent the wealthy and the powerful. That is, again, an obscene violation of, in my view, democratic principles. All right, so what you got is a system in which many, not all, but many elected officials are dependent upon their campaign contributors. Now, what candidates will tell you is, oh yes, I go to wealthy people's homes and I raise huge sums of money. Doesn't impact me. Oh, I have a super PAC and billionaires are putting in money that is unaccountable. Doesn't impact me. Sure it doesn't. Why do you think billionaires and the wealthy make campaign contributors? They may be greedy, but they are not stupid. And they understand that when they invest, it is an investment. You're a business, you put money, you know, you do TV ads, you hire good people, you do all the things you do. You are hiring your elected officials. So anybody who tells you that they're busy, while they're busy raising money from the wealthy and the powerful and CEOs of large corporations, it doesn't impact you. They are not telling you the truth. Of course it impacts you. Everybody knows that. All right, so how do we deal with that? How do we deal with it? Well, above and beyond making all the political changes that we have to make, making sure that everybody 18 years of age can vote without impediment, making sure that we end this obscene and extreme gerrymandering that goes on, we need real campaign finance reform. And as Zephyr mentioned earlier, the obvious first step is to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. But that's not enough. You don't want to go back to where we were, just simply go back to where we were pre-Citizens United. That's not good enough. So what we want to do, and there are different approaches to this, which good people disagree, and I'll tell you where I'm coming down on it, but what you want to do is move toward public funding of elections, all right? And when you take that step forward, there are various ways that you can go forward. And some states have already had pretty good success. I think Maine is working pretty well, isn't it? New York City is working fairly well. Who's here from Maine? Okay, you know something about the thing there?
I ran and won on the elections.
There you go. And my understanding, not that I am asking you to speak for all of Maine, but is that Republicans and Democrats are taking advantage of the clean money. Is that right?
They are, but since the McComish decision, I think it's McComish, or McCutcheon, out of the Supreme Court, they have been taking less and less.
Yeah.
It's become a more partisan issue.
Okay. But the idea of public funding in general, the broad idea, is that anybody in this room who wants to run for office and can indicate a degree of support should be able to run for office. And instead of having to go to wealthy campaign contributors, you'll get funded out of the general public tax fund. Now people say, oh, well, the government is funding politicians, wasting all of that money. Well, I will tell you, it is much, much preferable to have candidates receiving support from the general fund than it is from billionaires and CEOs of large corporations. All right, so there are a number of ways you could do public funding, and I think New York City does it in a way, Maine does it in a way, and other states have experimented with different ways. And I think I'm coming down on the side of what we call, I guess, democracy vouchers. Is that the correct? And I'll tell you why I like this. And what it says is that if you want to make, we will provide with you, out of tax dollars, a sum of money, and people will argue what that sum of money is. A good friend of mine, Ro Connor of California, I think proposed $50. Was that Ro proposed? And it may want to go higher than that, but whatever it may be is to say, all right, you're going to get a voucher. And maybe it's $100. And you will contribute that to any candidate that you want. Now, what I like about that, obviously, is that it allows candidates to raise money from the general public rather than wealthy individuals. What I also like about it, the extra bonus of that, is it suddenly makes people begin to think about politics in a way that they have not thought about it before. And let me just give an advertisement for myself here right now, because I'm very proud of this, is that what I like about my campaign and why I have decided to vote for me, after a lot of thought and debate about it, is this. Our campaign, and I am very proud of this, has received more campaign contributions from more Americans than any candidate in the history of American politics. I believe, I am not 100% sure, but I believe that within the next few days, we will have received 5 million contributions from well over 1 million people, probably closing in 1.3, 1.4 million people. And you know what the average contribution is? $18. Okay. So that's what we're doing under the present system. But the idea of saying to people, you know what, you're going to get a $200 check, and you can make that contribution to any candidate you want, presidential candidate, U.S. Senate candidate, House candidate, governor, whatever it may be. You know what that does to you? It says, you know what, hey, I got a bit of power here. I got to better start studying whether I like candidate X or candidate Y. Who's going to represent my interest best? Because I'm going to make a $50 contribution to that candidate. So I think that's an exciting idea. I think it's one approach toward revitalizing American democracy and breaking our dependence on billionaires and the wealthy dominating the political process.